As the former president prepares for his initial court appearance tomorrow, joining me now, NewsNation legal contributor and attorney Jesse Weber. Jesse, hello to you. So what can we expect at this arraignment, once again in federal court, for President Trump tomorrow?
So I would imagine it's going to be pretty similar to what we saw in his prior court appearances, particularly with the documents investigation. There is talk about whether or not he may not even appear, whether or not it might actually be a Zoom appearance. I know that there have been protocols put in place, safety measures put in place for the former president to attend. But this is going to be very pro forma, where the charges will be read. He might not have to enter a plea at this time, but it's mostly so he understands the charges that are against him and next steps. In terms of an issue of bail that may come up. But I guess this is going to be very pro forma from what we've seen. And I also anticipate that after this court appearance, if he decides to go there, don't be surprised, as we've seen in the past, if he decides to give a speech, maybe at Mar-a-Lago, talking about this new indictment.
Right. We've been to this rodeo before. I think there are some predictions that we can make. So you've got 3 conspiracy charges, 1 obstruction count. Trump's attorneys argue that this is about free speech, but I think we can all agree there are limits to free speech. So legally speaking, how will his defense respond?
Yeah, Marni, that's a great question, because when I look at this indictment, it's more about anticipating the Trump defenses. So that idea of free speech, in the very beginning of the indictment, it's very clear that Trump would have the right to say the election was false. He could say it publicly. He can fight this out in the court of law. But what they make the distinction is there's a difference between doing that and going through unlawful channels, unlawful means. And that is why they've implicated him in the fake elector scheme, that he knew about what was going on, that there was an effort to get state legislators to accept the fake electors, to have a new AG instituted to oversee this plot and give it federal backing. And then finally, as you mentioned, this pressure campaign of former Vice President Mike Pence to stop the certification process. And so this idea that Trump was only following his lawyers, or he legitimately believed there was fraud. The problem is, if you read this indictment and you accept it as true, it really puts Trump in a very small corner and very tough for him to argue that he didn't know what was going on, or he felt that he had the law on his side.
I'm really curious about the co-conspirator issue here. You've got 5 that are named of the 6. Did they strike a deal? I talked to Judge Napolitano in the last hour, and he seemed to think that they did, and this could backfire.
So I see 2 reasons why they are not part of this indictment and why they are unindicted co-conspirators. Number 1, maybe the cases against each one of them are still being built. Maybe there are going to be separate charges. That's one avenue. I think the more likely scenario, as I agree with the judge, is that deals are being worked out. Now, why would deals be worked out? Because the central question in this case, what was Trump thinking? What was his intent? And if they can have these witnesses go to the government side and said, yeah, I had these conversations with Trump. He knew the election was stolen. He told me to go forward with this fake elector scheme. It wasn't that he just thought these fake electors were going to come in if he won in court. No, he wanted them to replace the real electors. If they can get that kind of statement, that kind of evidence on their side, this becomes a drastically different case. So as strong as this may look right now, if they get any of those cooperators to come on their side, I think that's going to be a significant development for the prosecution.
And Jesse, I mean, the wheels of justice turn very slowly. We're 2.5 years since January 6th. We are 15 months away from an election. Jack Smith says, I would like to seek a speedy trial. How likely is this to see a trial to play out in court before the election?
I think it's very unlikely. I say that for 2 reasons. 1, this is a complicated case, a wide-spanning investigation. And the Trump team is going to do every single thing that they can to delay it. And rightfully so. I mean, he's also got these other charges, these other cases, and there's going to have to be coordination between prosecutors on the scheduling of these trials. I do think that this is probably going to happen after the election. And if that happens, that changes the playing field, too, if he's ultimately convicted. And what I know there's been talk about, if he becomes president and he's convicted, would he do anything to somehow squash these convictions? That becomes uncharted legal territory. I just don't anticipate this trial happening before the election, but We shall see.
Yeah, I think there's no crystal ball on this one. I mean, you talk about uncharted territories, and we're off like in the distance of even that. NewsNation legal contributor, attorney Jesse Weber, is always a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.